Hello, everyone. We have a small group today. Maybe others will join us as we go along, but it's a small group and probably large conversation, so you never know. I'm Nancy McCarthy. Today we have Gary Hayes with us today. Lisa is somewhere in New Orleans or coming back from New Orleans, so Gary said he would step in. Hello, Gary. Would you like to say anything?
I will say that I rearranged. This is a conflict with my walking with a counselor program, which is usually this time of day. But I never miss an episode on YouTube. So there.
And Gracie gave you permission to.
Oh, yeah.
be here.
We walked a little bit earlier.
That's good.
There'll be treats involved.
Okay. Oh, well, bribery always works. Yeah. All right. So I will go around the room and talk to our Zoomers and we will get started. We have with us today Bruce St. Dennis, our city manager. And then we also have our new code enforcement officer, Daniel. Daniel, would you like to say anything?
Yeah, just that I'm happy to be working here and serving the city.
And you worked as a traffic monitor, didn't you?
Yeah, since 2016, I worked summers as an information aide here for the police department. And just until recently, I was working as a night patrol for the Port of Astoria.
Great. So you have lots of experience. And so thank you for joining us today. You are among those who are the most needed in this community, according to our audience, our Coffee with the Councilors audience. So that's why we like to have the code enforcement officer here. So let's go around the room. Eric, what would you like to talk about today?
I don't have anything to
You're just listening, huh?
say. I'm tired. I don't have anything.
You'll think of something.
I'm sure there'll be something.
Well, I can comment.
Lynn, what would you like?
I have a question about the lifeguards.
Okay.
And tell me your name again, please.
Daniel.
Daniel. I'm glad Daniel's here because I wanted to know what to do about something I saw on Facebook that involves short-term rentals.
It's something on Facebook you saw that was what?
About short-term rentals.
Oh, okay. Okay, and Jan, what would you like to talk about today?
Bridge updates. And next, water conservation update. And the third is our islands update.
Okay, I didn't hear that.
The last one,
The first one was the bridge, right? Second one, it was,
water conservation update.
okay,
And then also the third is the heat island update.
the cute,
Heat,
Hot.
heat.
Heat Island,
H-E-A-T.
The what?
Heat Island.
okay, I don't know what that is, okay. All right. And Deb, what would you like to talk about today?
Well, I have 100 questions, of course. I could talk all the time, but you know, when you study them all, you have a lot of questions. Two questions I have about the geotech report on the Southwind property, if we finish that. And number two, I want to talk about the school.
Okay. And Betty, and you're in Hawaii, right?
Yes, I
Lucky
am.
you, lucky you.
But you guys are having Hawaii there, aren't you?
That's true. We did have our little bit of Hawaii this last weekend. So what would you like to talk about?
Well, I'm very happy to have a code enforcement officer. Thank you so much. And Gary, I'm so happy to have you with us today. I just want to listen for a while. I know Betsy's trying to join in, but her internet is kind of funky. But I'll listen for a while and then I'll try to find something to talk about.
Okay. And then we have somebody new that I haven't seen before. And your name is Lynn?
You're muted.
You're muted, Lynn.
There you go.
Good
Hi.
morning.
Hi.
Yeah, this is the second time I've attended. It's been
Oh, okay.
I guess I want to listen, but then I also had two things. I'm concerned overall about parking, and I love all the visitors coming to town, but I wanted to talk about that. And then a little bit about the beach access here near Larch. where we have some erosion, and I'm just wondering, where we had the burrito put in several years ago, if there's a way we can just encourage kids who are going to play and roll down the dunes to do it just a little farther down to protect that corner.
Okay, all right. Betsy, what would you like to talk about today? You are muted, Betsy.
She made it.
Okay, here we go. Well, for one thing, I can't get my MacBook to get into this meeting, so now I'm on my phone, and that was so frustrating. If I have anything to say, I'll figure it out later. Thank you.
Yeah, sometimes the internet is really spotty around here. Janae? Janae? Is there something you'd like to talk about?
I am here and I'm just listening. Thank you.
Okay. And welcome. Okay. All right. So I think the first thing on our list, Gary, is there anything you'd like to talk about?
I think this is a good list.
Okay. All right. And Russell, what would you like to talk about?
I want to basically listen, introduce myself, property manager for Breakers Point, local resident. There are issues that we have in common, it sounds like, so it's an interesting conversation. I guess I'm just here to listen and learn.
Okay, great.
Access at March.
Yeah, exactly. That's, yeah, that ring some bells there, so.
And I'll have a question for you myself,
Very
so that we'll bring up a little bit later. Okay, so Lynn, I think you're first. You wanted to talk about the lifeguards.
I just was curious, how are the lifeguards funded? Is this a state beach? Do they supply the lifeguards? Do we need more? I mean, in light of this weekend, it's, another tragedy. And I was wondering if the city is having to fund that, or is the state assisting?
It's a city funded program. Bruce, would you like to talk about it?
It's a little more complicated than that, and I'd like Jason to take it because he's been working with the fire department. And it's kind of a combination.
It is a city funded program, and we're one of two cities, Seaside being the other, that have a lifeguard program. No other cities do this. And it starts, usually starts Memorial Day weekend and goes till Labor Day weekend. We're seeing a pattern or a trend, obviously. This weekend was a weather fluke. It was like August all weekend. We were slammed. We had 4 water rescues yesterday alone. And so they're out there. The fire department is in charge of the personnel now, and they're training and hiring the lifeguards. And they have, you can never have enough, but they actually have more than we've had in the past. And they did have several out this weekend that were out there warning. I can't remember how many contacts they had, but they had warned. In fact, they had been out there a half hour before the drowning, talking to the kids and different people in that area. The hard part about Cannon Beach is there's 2 riptides in 2 different areas that create havoc. So it's certainly something that Mark's working on. Of course, the state doesn't fund it. State doesn't provide any part of that. It's just a city thing where we years ago started the program, and it's been a great program, a good way to help prevent deaths or injuries. It's certainly nothing that they can top all of it. Unfortunately, in the last, like I said, the last probably 5 years, it started a month before the season even starts. And, they've talked about doing it during the king tides, having people out there as well. And so it's very, very tough. We try to do the best we can.
I just didn't know if y'all needed additional help, if the state needed to be involved.
Always need additional help, but yeah, their state is strapped as well. Yeah.
And it used to be pretty much under the city purview. Now it's under fire district.
Personnel is under the fire district. Yeah.
Yeah, but the city is funding it.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Do you know how many lifeguards we have?
I think he said 8 or 9 this year.
Okay.
And do they work, what kind of hours do they work? Is it sun up to sundown? Is it?
No. They usually, that's not,
I don't know.
yeah, no, usually they come in around 10 and they're usually off the beach around 7 or 8.
And you said Memorial Day to Labor Day?
Yeah, that's usually, I think they're obviously trying to start earlier this year and end later. That's their plan, but it's really a funding thing.
And then you wanted to talk about STRs.
Yes, Jason, you love me, I know you do.
Of course,
There's a Facebook post this weekend from a property management company that says price cuts and reduced night stays in the next couple of months. Call us and we'll get you some good deals.
did you get some good deals?
And I didn't call one because I'm trying to do it properly. Normally I'd call Jeff and said, Jeff, what do you know? But Jeff's gone. So should I file a complaint with the code officer, let him check this out? I mean, it could be nothing, but this is a place that has been mentioned before about renting between renters in the
Sure.
past. Okay.
And that's part of that company that we have seeks those and searches them and finds out and make sure that they're renting properly as well. So
I can't imagine anybody having extra nights in the next few
Sure.
months.
sure.
So they're violating the
I don't-
14-day rule.
That's fine. I just want to make sure they're not. We don't.
And we don't know if they've got a business license or,
A business license, but how are they doing?
okay,
So I'll send you a letter.
Yeah.
all right, good. Jan, wanted an update on the bridge?
So it'll be this summer, the earliest we'll hear something.
Okay, thank you.
One day he's gonna tell her something and she's gonna be falling out. of it.
She's gonna fly right out of her chair.
And water conservation?
Jan, what are you talking about in terms of an update?
So every time we have one of these heat events, which seem to be becoming more frequent in the last few years,
Mhm.
it really raises red flags for me that when we talk about our planning for the city, we need to be thinking ahead as far as our climate increasingly changing
Mhm.
and making sure that the water that we do have, as far as fresh water for drinking and other purposes for people, and also for the critters who live here and that we are kind of stewards for, in my view, that we make sure we have a lot of water. And my concern is that we may not be thinking proactively enough because we still have our old mindset that we can keep building more. And I'm just concerned about our conservation ideas as far as water. It's the most important thing we have. So in that regard, I just would like us to be sure that our policies are matching the climate changing.
We're going to the best way to get people to conserve water is price. And we're going through a rate study, but we're not saying that that's what we're trying to accomplish with this rate study. We're trying to make sure we can cover the and have a resilient water system. The amount of water being produced by the springs is, and if we need to go to the creek, is adequate for out past like 2040 or so. We did have that checked. Now that will depend on how much, if additional properties come into the city, something like that, that could affect that. But right now we are situated well for water for our current population. And that includes the high population we have during the summer.
And how about our critters? Do we know that our critters, as far as the salmon, the elk, every other creature that we have in our watershed is having adequate water as well, that we're not just thinking about the people, but healthy water levels for the animals?
I don't know how much we can influence the water outside of the watershed or how much water is available. We don't take from the creek. except for maybe a month a year, if we do. And so the creek level should be pretty much whatever would be happening naturally. It does go down some when the more of the groundwater has been depleted and the springs aren't as powerful. But it's also, to a degree, it's tidally influenced. So as far as the fish, that seems to be relatively constant. Other critters, I can't say, other than the creek does continue to flow. And so if they're related, or their habitat is related to the creek, that seems to be enough to keep everybody going. But beyond that, I can't say if something is doing 5 or 10 miles inland. Did that answer your question, Jan?
It's a start. Thank
Okay.
you. Yeah.
Right. Sure. Thank you. It's a good question.
And then you had a third one, and I'm going to have you ask him the question because I still.
Well, I've been hearing more and more about concerns all over the world about creating heat islands. And the heat islands often are created by putting more and more paving, asphalt in our communities. And I've noticed when I walk from my neighborhood, which is a lot of gravel roads, into the downtown area, which is mostly paved areas, that there's a significant difference in temperature. And I'm just wondering if we are looking into ways that we make sure when we do pave, that we're not paving any areas that don't absolutely need to be paved, so that we can lessen our impact as far as the heat, when the heat does come, and it will more often from what I'm understanding with climate changing, that we are proactive as well, that we treasure the gravel for drainage and for lack of heat. And we are very judicious in where we do pave.
The paving projects that we have are repaving projects.
Okay.
It takes, well, not an act of Congress, but it takes an act of the council and a petition, I believe, in order to have a gravel street paved.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if we've done any recently. But you do need to refresh pavement, so that you doesn't become all potholes. Then you have to tear it all out in order to put down another course. If you do it on a reasonable schedule, you can just cover the old asphalt and allow it to become a base. So we should not be adding much to the heat sink.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That was something you were trying to build, Jan.
Thank you.
I remember we discussed the council discussed the gravel roads versus paved roads quite a while back. I think it was before this new council even started. And if a neighborhood on a gravel road wants to pave its road, it has to have, I think at least 80% of the property owners agreeing to pay for that. And the only time, as I understand it, the resolution says that the only time the city will pave a road in a neighborhood is if it's a steep road and the maintenance is more than it can handle with gravel. So there's quite a process that people have to go through if they want to have their roads paved here.
And maybe we could help by educating a little bit about, there are good points about it and there are not so good, and we need to really help people understand that it's not so simple maybe.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Gary, would you like to add anything to that?
Not to that.
Okay, all right.
Betty has her hand up.
There's a hand up.
Yeah. Betty?
Oh, I'm concerned also about heat, but I'm concerned that the new heat wave is going to affect our long-term trees. And I know that in Hawaii, we've paved so much that we have very, very hotter summers than we need to have. So I feel like we need to start thinking about replacing or planting trees next to trees that are almost at the end of their life so that we can mitigate what's to come. In my neighborhood, a lot of our trees look like they're not doing very well, which really concerns me. So I hope we can have a discussion on finding trees that will survive through climate change. I don't know if I don't think we've been talking about that, but I think we need to start talking about that.
That's a good idea. Yeah,
Speaking of trees, Jan and I have 200 trees for free.
that's right. Lynn, why don't you talk about that for a minute?
And my spruce are looking okay. The spruce are looking kind of bad. The cedars are looking okay, and the alders are starting to bloom with they're in water. But we've got 200 trees. The city took about 100 of them. But if anybody knows anyone that wants seedling trees or bare root trees, we're going to try and give them away at the farmer's market, but I cannot get the word out enough.
And we have cedars. It's cedars we have.
Okay,
Yeah.
I get my
Cedars.
Cedars are nice. to read.
Located, where could we find?
at my house and Jan's house.
I see.
Yeah.
Maybe we can give me.
And the hemlocks that we have, at least mine, are not doing that
Yeah,
well.
the hemlocks are the ones that aren't doing.
After
very well.
this
They need to be
weekend,
planted.
they have been losing needles, so
that's
they're
not
good.
stressed with the heat.
Mine are still looking okay, but they're going downhill.
Yeah,
Yeah, so if anybody knows of anybody who wants seedlings,
Yeah.
please let Jan and Lynn know. Betsy, you had your hand up? Oh, there she goes. And she's muted. Oh, my gosh.
God, this is
There
so
you go.
confusing. Anyway, yeah, I'm on the email list for the Hoffman Center down in Manzanita, and I see that they have a forester who's coming to speak on the very subject of trees to adapt to the upcoming climate challenges that we're going to be having. So if anybody's interested in that, they could, for some reason, they are charging $15, but it's probably worth it. And I don't have the date at my fingertips, but if you can always go to the Hoffman Center website and find that out, if there's someone in the city or just a private person who wants to be thinking about which trees are going to be able to do a little bit better here as things get. Oh, and interestingly enough, it wasn't so much adapting them to the heat as the heavy rains that we're going to be expecting that have to do with the climate changing. The ones that aren't going to rot because they've got too much water. Hard to imagine, but as of yesterday anyway. All right, thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Betsy.
We did quickly forget that we went from complaining about the rain to complaining about the heat.
I know, never satisfied, never satisfied.
Not complaining, talking about, I think the fire danger is another one of those that we need to be looking at as we, last year we had some scary times. And I feel like that's probably going to be a situation that's only going to get worse. So it's something to be aware of and looking forward at that issue.
Yeah, absolutely. I always worry about fires starting on the east side of the highway and then just coming right over into the west side. It'd be so easy for fire to just spread like that so quickly. And
Well, yeah, we had those Tillamook head fires
Yeah.
this last year.
Yeah.
And so you could see.
and the
that,
Arch Cape fires that happened several years ago that really could have gone out of control, almost did. Yeah. So, yeah.
yeah, and the burn piles from up until Moquette, it's really important that we look into that practice. It seems like it's outdated.
It seems like the recent fires that have been a problem have been slash burns that have been reignited
Exactly.
because we burned when there was wind warnings.
Mhm.
So it is something to be concerned
People
about.
are working on that issue, but it's a long slog to change it.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you for that.
Okay, Deb, you wanted to talk about the geotech report on the cache site?
Is it done?
I don't know. Bruce? What's the status of that?
It's not complete.
Is it being done now?
Yes, it's being done. And we're also incorporating some of the information from the when SRG did the work back in 2020, 2019. And 18, okay, I'm going way back.
Yeah.
But back in 18, they left some measuring instruments that were continuously measuring any movement of soil. And so we're going to be doing the normal geotech, which goes ahead and looks at a spot. But now we've also got information about the whole mountainside there, as far as what's happened in the past 5 years.
Okay.
But we don't have a report yet that tells us what's going on.
Bruce, do you think we'll have that report when we talk about the location of the city hall and the police department?
Tomorrow night.
All right.
Tomorrow, yeah.
Tomorrow night?
I was gonna ask the same question. Are we gonna have it tomorrow?
No.
So that's gonna be difficult, okay.
So yes, we've got a council work session tomorrow to discuss city hall siting. I'm not sure how good that conversation can be without that
Without
information.
that information, that's right. Yeah, so that's at 6 o'clock and we will be talking about where to put, we know that we have to put the police department outside of tsunami zone, but we don't know right now where we're going to place the city hall. And I was looking at Facebook memory yesterday, and 4 years ago, we were talking about where to put the city hall. So this has been going on for a long time. But we're going to be talking about it again tomorrow. And we are asking people to let us know what they feel about putting city hall either here at the Gower Street site or on the Cache site. So we want your opinions. We want you to participate and discuss this with us tomorrow at 6 o'clock here in City Hall.
And I think we have collected a pretty wide variety of public comment on that subject. But it was a game changer when we found out that the police station was going to have to be out of the tsunami inundation zone, making the Cache site the only viable site we really have right now. And does that change people's thinking about where City Hall should be? Should we locate them both together on the east side of the highway? If the geotech report comes back and supports that as an option, or do we want to have a split City Hall and police department? That was really the kind of public comment we were looking at, and I'd be happy to hear anyone's thoughts on that right now, even though that's going to be a conversation for tomorrow. I'm not sure how far we can push it tomorrow without that report. But
Yeah.
The one question I have is, what will you do with the current space where the city hall is if it goes up there? So that's something to ponder before tomorrow. That would be interesting to know. Could it be used for, affordable housing? Could it be sold for money to fund things? All those questions might come up. I don't know. I mean, I would ask them, but so.
and
that's
they
been-
all have come up.
Yeah, they all have come up and there has been suggestions for affordable or workforce housing here on this site. There's been talking about making a plaza maybe here. Who knows? Right now, we don't know, but it might not be a bad idea to consider affordable housing here too. So
Yeah, so then you wouldn't sell it, but you would do it. The city
I
would do it.
don't know. We haven't gotten that far on what we would do with the site if the city hall is not here.
Okay.
So.
I also wanted to bring up the school situation, because I just had a question. So we had 5 meetings and we had Dustin and everybody came and gave feedback, and now there's like this paved road, and then there's a landslide, and then there's a sinkhole. And then there's all these things starting to happen that with feedback and obstacles to it. And I'm not sure poor Dustin, that's all I can say. So we haven't explored donors, grants, foundations, heritage sites, education grants, state grants, all of that, has not been explored. the committee that's been put in place, I don't know what kind of experience they're gonna have, but I think they should have experience and also not be too close to it emotionally, that it's gonna create this kind of ego thing going on with people. And you know, Dick Bash talked about magic and visionaries and possibilities and no impossibilities. And we've got, you remember HRAP and birds and wildlife and American Indian traditions and rituals, History Center. You know, all of those wonderful ideas came out, and now I'm feeling this like petition being sent around and all this kind of stuff. So trying to like put obstacles into it. You know, we have to look at the High Desert Museum, the Discovery Centers, art classes for children. Anyway, sometimes I wonder all the feedback that we get in the city, and there's a lot of misinformation that comes in, and it's so and you know, the city spends time probably having to write and answer all of the misinformation. And it goes like, it's like a spreading wildfire that goes through this town and gets people all gunned up, and then they come after you. And
Deb,
you know,
what is the point you're trying to make?
the
what-
point I'm
is there a
trying to make
question?
is, what happened? What happened with the 5 meetings, and why are we at where we are today? Is it the money? Is that what caused all of this tsunami of feelings? Why weren't they there when we did the meetings?
Okay, I'm not sure what the question is under all of that, but
I think that Deb is feeling
Overwhelmed.
the same thing that a lot of people are feeling, that it's sometimes the public process moves at a different pace than we might do it if we were just doing it ourselves. And so we do have a public process, and it's frustrating for a lot of people that do support that project, I know. But really, to move forward, we have to talk about use and management, and we have to pretty much agree on those things. So you're right, we've had a lot of great ideas that have been thrown out. A lot of people are attached to the project for one reason or another. But what I think we have to do as a city is come together and really be clear about the use and management, and make sure that it's a tourist related facility if we're going to move forward with it. So it's frustrating, it's not easy, but I feel like it's just part of the public process and it's playing it out. Does money play a part? Yes. So there's a lot of moving parts, and sometimes it doesn't feel like they're moving fast enough. I understand that feeling.
Have y'all announced the task force?
the task force, the decision on appointing people to the task force has been postponed to, well, the applications are due at 5 o'clock on May 21st, Sunday, May 21st. And then the decision will be made after that. So anybody who wants to apply for the task force is still able to do that. Again, just send in an email saying why you want to be on it. Maybe give us some of your background. And then you'll be asked to say a few words at the meeting when we make those appointments.
Is that meeting on the 30th?
I'm so confused with the meetings we've got going. Do you know if it's the 30th that we are making those appointments?
I think it's the 30th.
Yeah, that one got moved, remember?
Yeah, no, it got moved. I didn't know if it got moved to the first meeting in June or the 30th, but I think it was like,
The 30th was the last I remember.
yeah, a big project meeting on the 30th, and that was included.
I think that might be included. So probably be May 30th. Yeah. Betty?
I just wondered if we've already applied, do we have to apply again?
No. Mm-mm. No.
I think we did feel like the time to apply felt a little short.
Mhm.
So we wanted, here again, we're slowed down by this process and making sure we're doing it right and getting public comment. So we have slowed that down to make sure that anyone who's interested could be involved in that or can at least express their interest. And I'll just again underline that the reason for that committee is to look at the use and management. So how is the facility going to be used? That will lead to conversations about how it can be managed. And once we have that, it's going to be something that we can more look at how we complete the project.
So Gary, I think Gary answered whatever my question was, but the stream of thought is, I feel a sense of urgency about the police station and fire department, that they have updated emergency technology. I mean, the finest of equipment in a case of an emergency. And some of the things, the process, it seems to be holding everything back. I mean, some of these issues, like you said yourself, Nancy, were talked about 10 years ago, like this, it's like, I mean, it's like, how can we move them faster? I mean, I think sometimes a democracy like this can be like, it's not working. I don't think it's working in several places, but it's like, you know, we need a police station. Let's just do it. We need just do it. I mean, I don't know. I mean, time you listen to all this and the misinformation spreads and people are not experienced to know the ins and outs. When you've studied it all, you know yourselves what you need. And we need a police station. Maybe we should just, in a city hall. So I don't know. I would go absolutely nuts in your situation.
Well, welcome to our world. Welcome to our world.
Yes, we have talked about
I have
this
compassion.
Forever.
We've talked about it for 2 decades as a community. So I understand that's frustrating, but if it's any consolation, I think we're getting there.
We're getting close. We're getting close. I won't put a date on it, but we're getting close. All right, I'm going to move on to Lynn. You wanted to talk about parking and beach access on large.
Great, thank you. Let's start with parking. One of the things that I'm seeing a lot on both social media and just following, the work you're doing, and thank you for the work you're doing, is, how do we bring more revenue in to support the systems that then support the visitors to our wonderful community? And I really want to strongly encourage you to look at some kind of a day pass parking permit, $20. I think we have a lot of day trippers that come to our community. So they're not necessarily staying in the hotel and paying a hotel tax. They're not necessarily eating or shopping downtown, but they, come with their picnics. They spend the day on the beach, but they're creating a huge burden, the trash, the fire, the lifeguards. And I really think we need to fast track something. So that's one citizen's encouragement.
Gary, would you like to talk about that? Because I know that's one of your pet peeves as well.
I agree. I think it's one of the priorities that we should be working on. I think the solutions lie somewhere between, especially downtown, more time limited parking, so that you can run down and grab a pizza and actually find a place to park and grab it and run. So you can check your mail, so you can run in and grab, emergency groceries, even though most of us plan on not driving downtown during the weekend if we can at all possibly avoid it. I think part of that, it's complicated because then you have a permit system required for residents and employees. So that's a bit of a challenge to it, but I don't think any of it's insurmountable. And I think we should look at a paid parking model, especially for all of the public lots. And then make sure that we don't have a spillover problem into our community, into our neighborhoods, with people trying to avoid a parking fee. So there's a lot of moving parts to it. And I have asked Bruce to look at it, and I will keep talking about making it a priority, because I feel like that's one of those, it's a livability issue, but it's also an issue that frustrates people who come here.
Right. It's a little bit of an equity issue, with people coming, they use the services, but they're not paying in. So,
Yeah, in fact, my earlier than normal walking with a counselor today took me along Ocean Avenue and then to the end of First Street, where there's the two large city garbage cans, completely full, bags piled outside of them, and people's framework for their wind blinds that blew apart, and it's just all piled there. And I would agree with you that
The barbecue pits get made.
the last 2 days are probably a good example of how we get people pouring into town. They park, they go to the beach, they leave their garbage on the way out. Probably the only facility they visit is the restrooms, hopefully.
right,
All right.
hopefully. Anyway, so that was issue number one. I just, think it's one way to bring revenue into the city. And again, just a sense of equity for the services used. And then the other is along Larch, where we have beach access. And a lot of people, more and more people are using that stretch of the river on both sides, but particularly on this north end of town, for the beach access. And, it's easy, especially if you have little kids, it's easy to set up camp right there and the kids want to roll down the dunes. We've just had so many erosion problems that I understand it's a public beach and we really can't tell people, hey, don't play in the dunes. But is there a way to kind of encourage, for some X 100 feet, 500 feet, that this is a section of the beach that we're, trying to reestablish, some, I don't know, something just to keep people off that dune so we can thwart some of the erosion.
That is a budget item in Public Works, I believe, to deal with that issue, the North Dakota Creek.
Yeah, it's actually on the other side. It's, and maybe that's where Lynn is talking about, but it's in the vicinity of.
I think you're talking about Larch Rent by the breakers.
I'm talking about, by the breakers where we have the erosion. And a couple of years ago, we put in the burrito berm and some plantings. And, the kids are just, it's a slide. It's like a slip and slide.
Yeah. And that is a project. We're working with Crest on that, trying to get grant money to move forward with it.
But is there a way in the meantime just to put up a couple of signs to discourage playing in just that section? There's lots of dunes to play in.
Yeah, it's awkward right now because there's that drainage and it's sheared off there. So there's no real beach access except for one small trail. And then to the west of that, it is kind of roped off a little bit. But I don't know if there's a way we can improve that beach access so it's not adding to the erosion in that area. And I'm sorry, Lynn, I do walk that little beach access on a regular basis.
You roll down the dune.
I think the walking isn't an issue because I walk up that myself. It's the kids, sliding and even taking, beach toys and going down where they're taking large amounts of sand down with them. It's more the playing in the dunes right there.
So the people at the breakers would like to encourage that activity just a little farther.
And I'm not speaking for my neighbors here at Breakers. I'm really speaking for myself. So, but yeah, I'm just worried overall about the erosion right there. Just hastening it.
Yeah, I don't know if there's any way we could have Public Works take.
Yeah, that might be something. I don't know if Karen can look at something like that.
We can take a look at state, it's either private property or state property.
That's the tricky part. State, it's private property, and it's there's three different people that need to sign up on anything.
Yeah, so it's not really a public in terms of the
tricky. We had looked at riprap just right there, just to let it build up, but we've had trouble with that. There is a thing with Crest happening in the near future, and that might clear everything up, but nothing, glacial peace as always. So
yeah,
we hope to have
all right. Well, thank you for considering it.
even some kind of signage that,
Yeah,
you know,
Yeah.
Right, beach,
habitat restoration.
right, dune restoration,
Yeah.
please, just, and then just a couple of those just to discourage that one section. And then, after that, it's fine.
Welcome.
Thank you.
okay. Anybody else have anything that they want to discuss?
I wanted to mention with the parking discussion that I'd love to see Jason's input and when the discussions are going on in terms of enforcement and stuff like that, because I feel like that's a major factor that isn't typically discussed, especially in the public forum when everyone's talking about wanting additional this and that for parking for paid or time and stuff like that, because it does take time, and I know the officers are strapped for what they're able to do right now, especially when we get into the summer. And we've got the parking aids through the summer, but like this last weekend we didn't have parking aids, they're not on yet. So
Yeah, I wanted to ask.
it falls upon the officers to then do that enforcement among some other tasks.
How do you feel about
a day pass though? You could get them online, you stick on your windshield, you have a scanner that when you come into town. And if you don't have one when you come into town, that company bills them at their house for a fine for going into town without one, and you don't have any officers involved at all.
Well, is that true? That how
You still have to check it, and you also have, it doesn't, you have what Gary talked about, the people that push out. I mean, you look at Sandcastle Day and the creative parking spots that come out all over the area. It is gonna take, even this weekend, Daniel and the on-duty officer were obviously dealing with water rescues and other things, but they're dealing with parking issues too. And so it would be more people, more aides that can work during the busier weekends, that type of thing as well.
From my time working at the Port of Astoria, they have parking lots with terminals where you can pay for a day pass. That system works relatively well, and it's pretty quick to enforce because you just drive by and see, oh, do they have the pass up on their hood or up on their dashboard? For employees and people who have paid in advance for like a year's parking, they have a hanger that goes from the rear view mirror, and that's pretty quick to see right away. The only issue is with like additional timed parking, that takes quite a bit more effort when it comes to tracking that and enforcing that. Because what we end up having to do, and I'm just saying this from my time being an information aide, is you take a timestamped photo, you come back after the period of time has elapsed, and then I'd say about 60 to 70% of the time, vehicle's gone. And so you've had that effort, made that extra loop around, and it's cleared out. It's still good to enforce, and we still do. It's just adding additional parking like that would add an extra burden of time.
And if we did it year round, we only have the information aids for what, 3 months?
Yep.
So the other 9 months would be up to an officer. And how many officers do we have at one time?
Mhm.
1 or 2 officers at a time.
If you're gonna do paid parking, then part of the revenue from the paid parking has to be enforcement.
Mhm.
You can't do it with the people that we have.
What about how the parks do it with the permits, and they do it online and so forth? What about that?
Parks?
Yeah, the
Parks
parks,
is-
they have these systems now that you pay for parking ahead of time, and if it's full, it's full.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, that might be the state, and they've got more staffing than what we have with parks. We have a 1-person parks department.
Yeah, but
Getting the permit's one thing, but the enforcement is.
It is.
It's not enforceable.
Yeah, that's the tough one. That's the one always me.
Maybe downtown is on the honor system where the signs are, short-term parking. So whether it's an hour or 2 hours, in front of the shops. And, what we're really, sometimes it's the 80-20 rule. We're trying to catch the 80%. And if 80% of the people pay to park in a lot, we're good, then we're good. And we may even have money then to hire a parking patrol person or two, especially during the busy season.
Yeah, I don't think the enforcement issue should keep us from making a move myself. I think when you make a rule, most people are rule followers. And they're not going to want to risk that ticket, which on the off chance, we actually do everything that Daniel said and went and revisited. So I think we get the benefit without enforcement, becoming some kind of major thing. It's just like, why have speed limit laws? Because everybody speeds. But so I feel like it's kind of a similar situation where if you set the rules, most people are going to abide by them. Most people aren't going to want to risk it. The fines would have to be, a substantial fine.
I feel the fines probably aren't enough because most people just think, all right, I got a $5 parking pass all day and they just leave it there. I've seen cars that have parked there. All right, give me the ticket. It's $25 and I'm
Cost of coming to.
be here all day. So I think the fines need to be
Well, I don't want to.
increased a little bit, not out of,
I don't want to see the enforcement question slow us down on making some progress on parking.
I think it should be at least part of the conversation.
Oh, absolutely. But it's just, how many years have we talked about parking and over?
Well, we had a huge meeting here, 4 or 5 years ago, when the council was considering timed parking 3 hours on the street on Hemlock and Spruce. And we had lots of people here with making lots of angry speeches at the council about, this was just timed parking. This wasn't even paid parking. And they were totally against it. So now it is switched to people saying, let's have paid parking. And it's kind of like whiplash for the city council, because 1 minute they're saying, no. And the next minute they're saying, paid, which so it's something we really do need to study. Absolutely.
Okay.
And I can see us doing it, but I also know that there's a lot of opposition to anything like that. So
Bob,
Cannon Beach is a unique conundrum.
Yes,
from
it is.
people's perspective on things, because some of the most vocal opponents to those parking regulations were businesses.
yes,
And
they were all
I totally think that what we're talking about is a pro-business policy. So there can be a turnover in those parking spaces of people going into businesses rather than someone parking there all day and spending their time at the beach. So I don't know. I hope times have changed a little bit, that people realize that the parking is an issue, and it's a pro-business approach, I think.
Bob did a whole study on that and he presented it to the planning commission and everybody was really positive about it, but then I don't know what happened. So I'm going to have him represent that. Okay. Because it was well thought out and researched. And so, yeah, I had another question for Jason. So this weekend, police going down to the water, fire going off to rescue, cliff rescue. Somebody has a heart attack. How are you guys handling? What if they all came in at the same time? I mean,
They were yesterday. We were running around like chickens with our heads cut off.
Exactly. I mean, we're hearing the sirens and we're having these anxiety reactions every time we hear the sirens, thinking, oh, these guys. And so I feel a lot of compassion for you because these things take a toll on you. Losing somebody in the water, another child being lost. I was there taking pictures of it all, but it was like, I felt so much compassion for what all of you are going through with being really stretched. And if you want to talk about tourism stretching our fire department and police department, we're doing an article on that right now. And Jason, if you want to participate in any articles on that to educate the public, because we just did one with Mark. So anyway, people need to be aware that, if these things happen at the same time, God help us, there's going to have to be triage, right?
Well, the scariest part yesterday was that medics was not responding for one of our incidents because they had a MCI over across the river, and so they didn't have a medics available if we had needed them.
Oh, my.
Yeah, it was a very bad weekend that way. I just kept hearing siren after siren
Yeah.
after siren. And
Yeah.
helicopters over the head.
Well, we gotta think ahead because summer's coming and it's gonna be crazy.
All right, I do have one question for breakers.
Sure.
There's a couple in town who are very concerned about a light that is at breakers that just kind of lights up the entire neighborhood from what I understand, and it isn't
That would be on this east side of our property. How do we see it from the bridge? We've lowered it by half from. I think it was, gosh, I'll have to look at the ratings, but we've lowered it. I wonder if that's still an issue. Has it come up recently? Because I know we've worked on it.
It's come up within the last few weeks, but I will ask and see if it's still a problem.
If there's any problem, the best way to get anything done is just come see me.
Okay,
I'm a property manager. I'm a nice guy and I love to talk to people. The trick is you're never gonna make everybody happy. So if there's a shade I could put on it to maybe block.
that would probably be something that they
Don't
would,
know which way I'm supposed to shade it. It's been
All right.
kind of a mystery to me.
okay,
But if any, I'd be happy to make anybody happy on that one.
Okay.
I'm willing to.
great, great. I will talk to them and get back to you then.
I know Russell's a nice guy and please let me know, any way I can help. with that.
Okay.
That's sad. That's
Great,
not what I want with that. I just want to keep the property lit up, but I don't want to keep anybody up.
yeah,
either.
because they've been very unhappy about it, so for a
I
long
would,
time.
no,
a long time.
I'd be happy to be the hero on that one. So just, let me know which way I could shade it or anything I can do.
Okay.
It has been low, the power's been lowered. But if that's not enough, let me know.
Okay, great. Thank you. I appreciate that. All right, we have 4 minutes. Betty, did you have something?
Yes, I just wanted to make an announcement this Saturday. We're going to have another forest restoration project at the Spruce Forest Reserve. And everybody's welcome. It's 10 to 12. And we will be having these every month on the third Saturday from 10 to 12. For the next few, we're going to be at Spruce Reserve, but after that, we'll be moving around town trying to keep our trails and areas free of invasives. So
Great.
anyway.
Well, thank you very much for that. That's a wonderful project. Thank you.
We had lots of good help on Earth Week, so that was really great.
I did.
All right, thank you. Any other announcements or concerns? Questions? Gary, anything else?
Vote
Oh, gosh, yeah. I gotta do that.
tomorrow is voting day. If you haven't already, get your ballots in. There's a drop box right out here.
And be sure to attend our meeting tomorrow night at 6 o'clock to talk about the police and the fire department. And our funding meeting is when, May 30th?
May 30th,
May 30th, we will talk about project funding.
funding and scoping, yes,
Yeah, for both projects. So both our school refurbishment and our city hall and police department. So
What
we
date
have
was
two,
that? What
May
date?
30th. May 30th, 6 o'clock. So we have two pretty major meetings coming up. I can't keep track of all of them.
Maybe a short one tomorrow night. If,
I hope not.
if we can't really, if we don't really know about siting and the
Yeah.
geotagging for it.
Geotech.
But a short meeting,
but we can pretty much build anywhere. It's just how much cost it's going to be to stabilize the foundation. So it's not a question of if we could build, it's just how much would it cost to build in that location.
And the access,
Still working with the access.
we need to know.
We've looked at the easements and there's nothing that says that there is it's a single purpose easement. We just have to go through whatever processes are required to get an access off of 101 from the state.
I think Sam brought up that there was an issue with the owner of the Toledana main line.
Yes, that's what I
That
mean.
there was that they had the city has an easement to use it just for emergency access only for the cache site and stuff like that.
I don't think that's the case.
That's what I was.
Okay, so that was a comment that Sam had made. And,
Yeah. Now, in what we're looking, there might have been one for the cache site. I don't recall if we actually went to them or we just owned the cache site and started to build the cache site up. But the main thing was whether or not it was an exclusive easement to the logging company, and we're not finding that anywhere. And so we have to just go through the process.
What happens to the cache site if we build the city hall and police station up there? Like,
There's places to move. Everything is in Connex boxes. And so we can move the Connex boxes to another location up there. We can make it's
Big garage. Remember, there's a big garage up there too.
That'd be of good use to us if we had it. We've already talked about that.
I mean, there is other things, but yeah, I know you have to move them someplace.
yeah. Police want to use that.
so what do you feel about city hall and police being together, Jason?
I just want them built. It doesn't matter
I'm
to
with
me.
you. I'm with you. I want to
I
build.
want a
now.
place for my officers to be comfortable and happy.
Can help you.
All right, well, we are going to adjourn our meeting today. And we will have another one on the third Monday of next month. So thank you all for coming. Appreciate it. And tell your friends and family to join us next month. So we will see you next month.
Thank you
Bye-bye.
for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening.
Thanks, folks.